In this episode of Crystal Uncorked, I am having a wonderful conversation with Grace Kang, the co-founder of Pink Olive. I love this conversation because Grace shares so much wisdom about the success that she's had over these past 15 years of opening multiple store locations, starting in New York City and expanding to upstate as well as Little Rock, Arkansas. She is a woman who really understands her audience, her zone of genius, which we talk about, and has some really great advice, business advice that she was given, passed down from her father, which I think is just, it's really good. And we talk about it towards the end. So listen to this whole episode. She also answers a question: how do you slow things down in an ever-changing, fast environment? And I think that that's something that most all of us need. We are just moving and hustling, and there's just so much going on and so much information. And for us to just slow down and take a breath and really recenter, she's got great advice for that you would use every single day. And it's easy to do. It's something that you can actually implement right after you listen to this episode. So I know you're going to love it, but first, let me tell you a little bit more about Grace. Grace Kang, founder and chief buyer of Whimsical boutique Pink Olive, always knew she wanted to have her own business. As a small child, she was fascinated with everything from fashion to stationery and wanted to have a store of her own. She is inspired by different cultures and environment and is always on the hunt for creative finds. She has great passion for finding and giving unique gifts and has now made it her career. After graduating from Cornell University, Grace started her career in the fashion industry as an assistant buyer for Bloomingdale's. She quickly moved up the corporate ladder and became a successful buyer at Bloomingdale's, where she received numerous awards, including Buyer of the Year. From there, she continued on to Saks.com and Barney's New York, which allowed her to excel and create outside the box in both the business and creative sense of the word. Life is about doing the unexpected. After Grace left Barney's, she launched Pink Olive out of her personal passion to inspire giving and beautiful living. Her mission is to make the gifting process super easy, fun, and attainable for little ones and loved ones. You can check them out. They are at Pink Olive on social media, pinkolive.com. And before we dive into this episode, let's hear a word from our sponsor, which is me. Hey, are you a retail store owner who wants to increase your foot traffic, website traffic, sales, profitability, brand awareness? Any of those? If you said yes to any or all, then I would love to see you at my in-person marketing conference called Evolve, happening April 26th and 27th, 2023 at the Gaylord Rockies in Denver, Colorado. Join other retailers like you who really want to grow their business and have a plan for growing so it's more simple to see those results. You'll hear from keynote speakers, amazing breakout speakers, myself and my team. I would love to see you in the room. And just because you're a Crystal Uncorked listener, you can save $400 off of your ticket by using the code UNCORKED at crystalmediaco.com/evolve. That's crystalmediaco.com/evolved using the code UNCORKED, all lowercase. I hope to see you there so we can evolve your marketing, business, and life together. Are you ready to open up and talk about all things business? I'm Crystal Vilkaitis, a curious entrepreneur who loves talking about business, especially over a glass of wine. I started Crystal Uncorked to share open and honest conversations about my journey and talk to other entrepreneurs about their experiences. We pull back the curtain and talk about the highs and the lows. Wine isn't required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. Grace, welcome to Crystal Uncorked. I'm thrilled you're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. What are you drinking?
Okay, so I am drinking a red. It's a Syrah from a winery in the Finger Lakes. It's called Thirsty Owl, and it's from my alma mater. When I was up in Cornell with Matt, I brought him to all the wineries in the Finger Lakes region, and we picked up a couple of bottles. And this was one of the wineries that we dropped by, and we loved it so much. And so I have a red. I'm not really big on red, but lately I've been drinking a lot of reds lately.
Oh, okay. I love it. And that sounds like an amazing area. And I'm assuming is Matt your husband?
Yes, we actually recently got married in a couple of months ago.
Yay, congratulations. And I know this because I have been stalking your Instagram and went through all of your carousel posts. I'm like, what a stunning wedding. It looked so beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, well, Turks and Caicos was actually our very first trip together when we were dating. So it was kind of like 360. We went back circle. We went back to the place where we're both like water babies. So we love that place.
Oh my gosh. I love that's on my hit list to go. We've never been and we love the water as well. And so it's on my list.
It's beautiful. And congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yes, I know. It's fun. It's a lot of work planning a wedding. I'm glad that mine's further away, but it is a lot of work. I'm just excited to have the party and, be with all of our people.
Yeah. I think once you pick the date and the destination, like where you want it, I think everything else kind of falls into place. And of course, I'm here for any advice you need. If you have any questions about wedding planning, I'm here for you.
Oh my God. I love it. Thank you so much. I might take you up on that.
Exactly.
We pushed the wedding. It's not till 2024. So I have some time, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah. And so I love that you are having red wine. I'm a big red wine person. So I am basically I've got my wine. Tonight I have a cab, field house, which is through Scout and Cellar, which was a gift from Kathy Wagner, who's retail maven. She's in the retail industry and she knows I love wine. So she sent me some wine for Christmas, which was awesome.
Oh, and that's nice.
I tried it. It is so freaking good. So cheers, Grace.
Well, cheers. Well, I love that. And I'm glad that we're getting together and virtually in this age of technology. I love the fact that, especially in the last couple of years, despite the crazy times, that we're able to utilize these kind of platforms and connect with people. I think that's one of my big goals this year is to connect with, like-minded, amazing entrepreneurs and people who are shaking, doing what they love.
Yeah. I know. I feel the exact same way. Actually, Grace sent me an email last week. It was our first time connecting and we made this happen really fast. And there's a lot of similarities between us. And that is so I completely agree. The connection with entrepreneurs and it is so great that we are able to do it this way and that we have technology to really bring us close. And then it makes those in-person moments, I feel even more special because you've just built a relationship with so many people around the country and world. And we're just so lucky to connect.
I know it's crazy. It's really a small world when you really think about it and how we're so connected and it's no longer the 7 degree of separation. It's we're all connected by one or two people. And it's really how I got connected to you as well through, obviously knowing, getting reconnected with Bob and Susan and seeing your interview with Susan. And I was looking at that and then led me to your podcast. And it was just one after the other. I'm like, oh my goodness, this girl is awesome. And I feel like I've known you just through the things that you posted about your word of the year, which was oh my God, that was my word going into this new year. And it's rarely do I meet another person who would have used that same word, but also because typically, words are more hustle. And last year was resilient for me, things of gratitude. And this year, I'm really going into this year with a sense of ease in terms of everything that I'm doing for the business, but also in my personal life. How do we bring a sense of ease? And that comes from obviously my inspiration from my dad, just growing up and stuff. And it's just coming all full circle to me, but just funny things whether it's similarities with that. And then when I saw your post, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you in my email, but the whole JOMO thing, I was no one knows about it. Every time I bring it up, people are like, what are you talking about? You mean FOMO? I was like, no, JOMO. I have JOMO.
Absolutely. The joy of missing out. I tell you what, that podcast has been one of the favorites. A lot of people have been reaching out to me about that because they haven't heard of it. And I think more people are wanting the break. There is so much going on. And I just feel COVID obviously slowed everything down and we took a massive break. And then we started to get bored. And then life kind of like started to come back. And then it was like full steam ahead, just like busier than ever. And so I just think that we are more tired than we ever have been. And we are overcommitted. And so the joy of missing out is just so beautiful. And it's funny, my friend who told me about that, Christina, she really wanted me to go to brunch on Sunday with her mom. And I'm like, I've been traveling and I really just want to stay home. And she was like, I have to say that I understand because I'm the one who told you about JOMO, but I'm really sad. I feel like you can't use it on me. But it's, it's so critical. So I agree. We so just connected in that place too. Now, tell us a little bit about your stores, because speaking of like being busy and a lot going on, you have multiple stores. So will you tell us all, give us a little glimpse inside of how many locations, what type of store you have?
Yeah. So Pink Olive was started about 15 years ago. I started out opening my first store in the East Village in Manhattan. And I wanted to pick a place where I personally resonated with that space and that neighborhood, because I used to spend a lot of my time in my 20s, like just spending a lot of time there. I lived there. It's what I knew. And with every stores that I open, there is a reason for it. There is an intention in terms of why I pick the neighborhoods that I pick. There's a bit of a trajectory in terms of where my customers, including myself, I treat myself as a customer as well, in terms of how they travel throughout even New York City and upstate and where they go. There's this whole idea of PO getaway. And there's just that whole evolution of like that whole experience that I'm trying to capture in a crazy place like New York City. So, my intention with opening the stores, my whole background has always been in retail, but I always wanted to have my own business one day. So my intention was that I wanted to create these little mini pockets of happiness within a crazy place like New York City, right? So a place where people can just walk in, feel that sense of calm, feel like they can pause from their crazy, like busy, hustling New York City life. And for a moment, be able to pause and be in that moment, be present and be able to find a gift for someone they love or treat themselves to something special. And it really just stems from that little idea, that baby gift that they want to get for, because they're a newly auntie now or an uncle, or you want to buy a card for someone that you care about. And I always say that you don't need to break a bank to find a thoughtful gift. You can find a card to put together a really fun gift, and it's really a place where you want people to feel good about giving somebody something special. So it went from East Village. With my first store, I did open a store in Brooklyn. I think I had mentioned to you that I had a couple of stores in Brooklyn at one point. And then I opened in West Village back in Manhattan, where I still have the business there. And then I went upstate to open a store in Cold Spring, which is like the perfect, if you can picture the most darling of like town in upstate New York, it would be Cold Spring. You just want to put it in your pocket and take it home with you because it's so cute.
I love it.
And you could and the thing about Cold Spring is that I always used to tell people, especially my city folks, to go up to Cold Spring, even for a day or a weekend, just to get away from, city life, because, we all need that break. As we were just chatting about, we need that day off to have our, mind rest from all the craziness. And it's such an easy, beautiful train ride from Manhattan to go up to Cold Spring, about an hour and 15 minutes. And you're whisked away in this charming little town right by the mountains. People go up there for hiking. There's a cute little main street where we have our shop right in the middle. It's in a pink building. It's super cute. And you feel like you're taken care of. And then after that, you can just go home, or some people stay there overnight in a cute little B&B and feel taken care of, So
yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. I have to visit. I want to visit every single one of your stores because one, they're adorable. And I love what you're creating. And we are in upstate I mentioned Dustin, my fiance is from there. So we go about once a year, but then you have that store location and then you also have a store in Little Rock and that's the newest edition, right?
That is the newest edition. And who knew that I would open a store here?
Okay, so
I
what
know.
made
I
you
get the
open
question,
there?
like, so we opened that store this past April, but never in a million years did I ever think that I would end up here or even open a store here. So life is crazy. Life is, it's not, sometimes it's not whatever you plan, but things have a way of working out the way it should. And so I met Matt about 4 years ago. We met virtually, actually, in New York City, and I was living in the East Village, and we connected over the app called Bumble.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, I was new to the dating app scene. I'm like, what is this? A girlfriend of mine told me about it, so I was on it just literally a week or two. And the thing with this app is that it's empowering in a sense that it was started out by a woman, and it's not like those sleazy stories that you hear about. So I was open to being on it, and but the thing is, it doesn't tell you like where you're from. It only tells you I guess where you are in vicinity to where you live, kind of deal. So I thought he was from New York because he was staying at the W in Union Square. And I thought, okay, here's a cute, good looking guy. And he's so nice. And we connected right away. And we had this shared love for breakfast food. And we just really just, got along just in terms of just chatting and similarities and interests. So I asked him out for breakfast, and he said, oh, I can't. I have to fly back home. And I said, oh, aren't you just here? Like, so he said, yeah, I'm from Little Rock. And I'm thinking, Little Rock? I had no idea. I had to Google Little Rock. I had no idea where it was. I mean, I knew to the extent of the Clintons, but that was about it.
Yeah.
And at that point, I just, I said our goodbyes because I wasn't going to start a new relationship, like long distance. I did that in college. It's not always easy. So, so we said our goodbyes, and then I was at a trade show, the New York Now trade show, a couple of weeks later, and I was walking down the aisle, and I saw this really cute egg soap from a Japanese designer, and it just made me laugh so much. Crystal, I just took a picture and I sent it over to him just for funsies. I'm like, oh, hey, it's Grace. And then he sent me a picture of his egg socks that he was wearing that day. So,
oh my gosh. I love it.
So yes, the rest is history.
Meant to be. The egg brought you guys together.
Actually, at our wedding. So at our wedding, our gift was actually an egg magnet that one of my ceramic designers made.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is perfect. What a good story. I mean, thankfully you stayed in contact. I mean, it's great with the app. I had no idea that it doesn't connect you with people that are like not living in that area, or to, like that's a bummer to find out. So obviously you did, and I know we're here to talk about business, and we'll get back to that in a second, but like obviously you did long distance, which had to have been challenging. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, long distance, definitely. But he actually did move to Brooklyn at one point. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so we were closer together. We were both in New York at the same time. And then he's also originally from Texas as well. So between Texas and Little Rock. But so when that whole COVID thing, I mean, that's a small little thing. So when that happened, he was actually back in Texas. So so we've definitely had our share of long distance for sure. We've definitely lived in the same place in New York as well. I think at the end of the day, in terms of like next chapter, in terms of our next, chapter in our lives, I had to think about, okay, where can we, sink our roots into and make a difference and be able to, create a life together. And at the end of the day, Texas wasn't for me. I'm definitely more of, I love the Main Street. I've always been really big on community in that sense. I want to be able to still walk around. And I was really surprised to learn that when I came to visit Little Rock, this particular area, specifically, it's called SoMa. And it's this like up and coming area where it's Main Street, a lot of like fun, like shops, but there's like Essie Purse Museum right in front of our store. There's local, restaurants, and there's really good food and ice cream shops. I mean, it's super darling. And I never thought that Little Rock was like that. So at the end of the day, I was like, if I were to move to Little Rock, it would have to be that particular neighborhood. And that's what happened. We found a house and we ended up buying the house about 2 years ago. And then the whole store opportunity came up a little bit later, but not too, it was pretty much back to back. Like I wasn't necessarily looking to open so quickly, but you know how sometimes when you're not looking, it just comes your way. And sometimes for me, like having opened multiple stores, I really need to connect and resonate with the landlord, and he or she has to really get the vision in terms of what I'm trying to do, or else it's not worth it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I feel, obviously, it seems like retail is so in your blood because you're like, okay, so I'm moving and now I'm going to open another store. Like I must have a store here.
That was not my, I knew it might be like, it was in my, okay, who are we kidding here? I mean, it just never, what can I say? It was in my thought process. Again, just like starting my own business and working for other companies, you never know when something is going to happen, but you want to be mentally prepared for it. So in my set of intentions, and obviously I'm always thinking about, next steps and things of that nature and what I'm excited about. I definitely had the intention that, okay, I think I would love to have a store in this area one day. Whether that's, tomorrow or a year from now, it didn't really matter in terms of the timing. I know that things happen the way it does and it should. So that part, when this opportunity came, it was a brand new challenge in a sense that I'm used to going into a space that's already in existence, right? Like going into a space where I still need to renovate and I still need to make it my own, but it's an existing space. This particular opportunity was basically this old building, but basically I had to start from scratch. Everything from floors to the walls to, constructing the back area, the bathroom, like it was blank canvas. And for me, that was a new challenge because I never got to do that before, but I was excited for that challenge.
Oh, that sounds so fun. It can be overwhelming. I'm sure we've redone a few houses and we love when we just have like the blank canvas, but we've always still had like the, layout of the house, but to just have to be creative and really build your vision out must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it had its challenging moments for sure. Yeah. And we're in a capital zoning area, which means that there's definitely more steps and hurdles to, go through. But overall, it was still fun. I got to still keep the old infrastructure of the building in terms of keeping the brick wall, but just refining it, keeping all the, the beams and just, bringing keeping the old, but bringing a new sense of life into the space. And so it was definitely the biggest challenge in a sense that it is the biggest store. As you can, I'm sure, know about New York City spaces. They're, New York stores are smaller, which I got used to in terms of, maximizing small spaces. But yeah, this was definitely a bigger undertaking for sure, but
no kidding.
In a different way.
I love it. Well, congrats. And how are you then managing these 4 stores? Because obviously a couple are in New York City, then upstate, and now Little Rock. How do you manage to do that from afar?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely a juggling act for sure. I think that, when I opened store number 2, that was a big mental shift for me. In a way that, if I could do 2, I can do 3. And if I can do 3, I can do 4. And that's how my mind works. And I think from day one, I always knew that I was going to have more than one. So I always knew that I needed to create a structure within my business so that it can work with or without you. At the end of the day, I'm still very hands-on, even though I physically removed myself from the day-to-day. After I've opened the stores, I'm very much engrossed in still the inner workings of each of the store locations. But it is a juggling act because you do need to create that structure, and it's ever changing in a way that like you have to find the right team members to help you execute your vision. But I always I tend to do better with multiple stores versus if I had all my eggs into one basket with just one big store, only because I like testing different markets. I like being able to like, crazy enough, even East Village versus West Village, like they're similar, but they're different. So that, as a retailer, as a merchant, I always find fascinating because I get to make a difference in each of these neighborhoods. And even though they're so close, they're like children. They have their unique quirks and likes. And I always love, looking at selling and seeing what I can move around and what I can sell and what I can reorder. And that's the part that really excites me, because that's all about like adjusting to obviously the neighborhoods, what's selling, what's not, and being able to adjust with the times and the trends and being able to like make a difference. And I think that training ground came from obviously when I was in corporate, like when I was at Bloomingdale's, being able to like manage 20 plus stores or even at Barney's, where like I got to open multiple stores for them and being able to know the difference between a Chelsea store and Upper West Side store. And even with them, their clientele was different. So it's, there's, with every job that you have, I think it's really like still able to utilize and like use some of those skill sets, even for your own business and be able to run with it.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, I love your mindset around it. And I think that there's a couple things there. One is really knowing your target audience, which is like marketing 101, right? And know who you're buying for. But I think that sometimes that can be a misstep because we're just like really excited about our store or our business and we're just like putting out content or just buying things. But we sometimes have to take a pause and step back and like really look at who is in this neighborhood, who's going to be walking through these doors, who am I trying to reach on Instagram and TikTok, and really like spend time analyzing that and knowing who your perfect customer is. And I feel like that sounds like that's something that you've really honed in on and paid attention to, which is probably one of many reasons you've been successful. And two, I would assume just from a team perspective, having good people in place in these multiple locations. And you mentioned that, like having your team in place. A side note, on your website, I love on the About page how you have these little characters of all of your team members. Like it's just a really cute, unique About page, which feels like, I just feel like it's the experience. Like you mentioned earlier, the whole experience of Pink Olive. I can feel that on your website. I can see it in your social media, and I can't wait to experience it in person. But would you agree, like those couple of things have really built for you to be in business for about 15 years now, right? I feel like that's wildly successful in retail. You've gotten through COVID. Are those a few things?
I know. I did not think that I would.
Oh, but you did.
Oh my God, that was crazy times. Oh my goodness. I did not think that I was going to. I mean, I've had such I'm sure with many, like it was such an emotional roller coaster. One minute I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Another minute I'm like, I'm closing shop. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then it's like, it was tough. You think that you've been through enough catastrophes or challenges over the years. Obviously Hurricane Sandy was a big deal. And even just living in New York when that whole 9/11 happened. I mean, I didn't have my business then, but like, even just like going through that, and you think that you're prepared for, you're like, oh, nothing, New Yorkers are resilient and we can handle everything. But my goodness, that was crazy. Like,
I feel like especially New York City, I was in California and we had pretty strict shutdowns, but you would still go downtown a few months after, and it was like kind of back to normal. More people were outside, but
really?
We traveled to New York City April of 2021, and it was weird. Like we were just walking the streets. It was eerie. It was quiet. It was just different. The vibe was so different. We went back last year, October of 2022. Feeling a lot better, thankfully.
Yes.
Like energy's back, businesses are back, but still, like I know a lot of businesses didn't make it. And so I think it was extra hard to be in the city because everybody fled, like everybody left the city.
I have never seen New York City. You know, there are times like during holidays, like maybe Thanksgiving or certain times of the year when the city is quiet and you love that kind of sense of quietness. But this was a different kind of quiet. It was so like, it was desolate. It was eerie. It was almost like, I'll never forget that like Sunday, right before they gave out the directive that all, you know, non-essential stores even had to close. And I remember Sunday, afternoon telling my team like, oh, I don't know what's happening with, you know, COVID and, you know, just, you know, we're going to close the shop. I think my directive was we were going to open in 2 weeks because, and even then I was kind of freaking out because I've never closed a store that long before. And even then I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this with closing the shop for 2 weeks. But, you know, everyone's safety was, you know, the utmost important. So, you know, I sent out a directive saying that we're going to be closing the shop. And that was Sunday, the 16th of March in 2020. And thinking that, okay, you know, we'll be back in business in the month.
Right. Just 2 weeks. Nope.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I'm like, oh my word.
Crazy. But I feel, I mean, like the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I definitely feel a lot of businesses were definitely stronger through all of this. And it was really amazing to see the communities come together, which I feel like that happened for you, right? Like the town.
Well, you know, I'll say this. I mean, of course, I think, you know, a place like New York City, our city stores definitely suffered for sure. You know, when you have a store or when you live in a place like New York City, where it's a, you know, it's a transient place, like, you know, people come and go and, you know, rarely do you meet somebody who was born and bred and this is like their entire life. And I know just a few people who are like that. But for the most part, people come to New York City for a reason, whether it's, you know, for a loved one or for a new job or for a career and, you know, things of that nature. So I think that without the travelers, you know, the city definitely took a big hit without travel. Like they're really, I mean, I can't even imagine like billions, you know, they talk about the economy and how they lost billions of dollars. And at the end of the day, I never thought a place like New York City would shut down completely. So even after, so during that time, of course, I wasn't, you know, going to ask any team member to go into the stores or reopen in any way. But it was really Cold Spring that really helped keep things sane and alive in many ways because, you know, I think people were definitely traveling, you know, upstate to get a little bit more fresh air. You're not confined in a tight, you know, perimeter in terms of, you know, the living structure. So I think A, lot of people were moving upstate and B, a lot of people were, you know, going upstate just to like have a bit of sanity. So, you know, we did keep Cold Spring kind of alive and open in some ways for, you know, curbside pickups and things of that nature. And I was very lucky at that time that one of my team member was actually living upstairs, like on the apartment above the store. So she was bored. So she was like, yay, give me something to do.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yes, because at that time, like she was living, you know, she was living upstairs. So she came down and she did all the online orders and, you know, curbside pickups and things of that nature. I was actually in Texas temporarily because Matt had driven like 1,600 miles to come and get me because I thought I was going to just be away for a week or two. And then I was stuck.
Oh man. Yep.
So I was making candles from there, shipping from there. I was like doing face masks. I was like,
do what you got to do, right? It's like, what do the people need? They're buying candles. They need face masks. Like you're on it.
Yeah. I mean, people needed a sense of calm and I was making candles and we, you know, and then obviously with the face masks, you know, Rifle is one of our, biggest designer vendor. So a lot of people loved her fabric. So, you know, we made a bunch of face masks and we're selling in buckets, you know, it was crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, but
I love it.
Yeah. I am so grateful for small towns and small communities. And I think that's why I just love like small towns. And I love like these neighborhoods and place of community, because when things like this happens, like they do come together and they're able to support, and not that they didn't support, our city stores, whatnot. It's a different dynamic. I think my city stores will always be a key part of my business because it's really where I started. But, these small towns, whether it's Cold Spring or in SoMa, Little Rock, these are the towns and I love the idea of Pink Olive being part of these little pockets of small towns where we can make a difference, but also come together in times of crisis. And I think that's why I think these small town businesses are so important.
I completely agree. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Now, even just talking to you for a little bit here, I'm dying to know your answer to this question because I can't wait to hear what it is. So I talk about zone of genius a lot on Crystal Uncorked. What is your zone of genius?
So it's funny you mentioned that because people used to ask me that even when I was in corporate. It's, I guess, like a word that people that I think I truly believe that everyone has their zone of genius. You get, first you have to become aware of it, and then you get better and better and better at it.
Yeah.
I'm a product person, and that's why I love retail so much. I think my zone of genius is being able to see a designer's potential in the product and to bring it to life. Like that's why I actually love going to trade shows. I can see a product and know where it's going to go and if it's going to sell well. And if they're here, I can see them there. And I'm able to lift up my designers and be able to see their potential and then kind of have fun with it. So ultimately, my mission has always been two parts: being able to be deeply rooted in these communities where I have the stores. But I'm also from the background of like, in my secret world, like I wanted to be a fashion designer. So I understand the designer mindset, and I also want them to do well, because if they don't do well, there's no retail stores. Like I need them to do well just as much as like people want retailers to do well. Like I need them to do well so that we can kind of lift up and build a business together. And there's a way to do it in a fun way that's engaging and fun, and coming up with ideas, coming up with exclusives, and coming up with different product ideas, and giving them like that sense of confidence also that, okay, this is what's checking now. If you do this is going to do really well for you.
Mm-hmm. What a beautiful gift, being able to see that potential in people and having the eye for the design and then knowing how to bring it to life. I mean, I feel like you hear about the artists who are just so creative, but it's it can be so challenging to market that and make a business out of it and do the whole like business side. It's two different brains. And I think that that's such a beautiful marriage. And for what you do in your type of store, like how cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's it has its ups and downs, running a business is not always, popcorns and unicorns and cupcakes and unicorns. Not
exactly. No, it's not.
But I do love obviously what I do, because, I'm able to, bring these products to life, create a space where people can come in and feel, that they can find something and ultimately be able to treat themselves to something special. And, it's really all about those little things. And at the end of the day, I always said as we get older, we're all like looking to just connect with real people. And I think that was one of the lessons learned when I opened the Cold Spring location, was that people still crave that in-person connection, right? Like as much as I love digital and I love technology and a way of connecting and being able to learn about different things, I will always be a brick and mortar business for that reason, because people need that in-person connection. And there really is something magical that happens when you bring people together and be able to I'm definitely an in-person like type of person. So I do love, even when people were talking about, oh, brick and mortars are dying, everyone's starting online. And this was, all about the online business. And I said, that's great, but I will always be a supporter of brick and mortar businesses. As long as I do this, as long as I do this.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, I can't agree more. I think I even have it on my website, Crystal and Corked. Like, I believe that people crave connection now more than ever because of the pandemic and technology. Yeah. And so our towns create that, which is a really beautiful thing. And I just recently, well, it's been over a year now, but moved home to Colorado, and it's home here. So I know the towns better, and I know a lot more of the business owners. And I've just been so
you
much
were in
more.
California before.
I was in California before. Okay. Yeah. For
Where
12 years. Southern Oceanside. Okay. So yeah, north of San Diego, and super cute towns there too. But I
love La Jolla. Like I would move there in a heartbeat.
Right. I know. Love La Jolla. But I wasn't that connected to like the business community. I've always been very connected here, and I move home and it's like instantly I'm back in, I'm going to events, and it's like, this is something I really didn't realize how much I missed and needed when I was in California, is that community and these like activities and events and people that you're supporting.
It's probably like living in New York City or something too, because it's so big that it's, unless like you're literally going there, it's hard to feel connected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so true. Okay. You gave a question that I loved because it's something that I'm kind of focusing on right now, which was, the question is, how do you slow things down in an ever-changing, fast environment? And this is something that I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because I'm air. I'm an air sign. Like, I'm always moving. Oh, really? I go really fast. And then our technology makes things go so fast. And one thing that I'm really learning to do and train myself is to be more present. And when I am like, things don't feel as stressful. It's like, you're in the moment. What can I deal with now? And so I'm really trying to slow down to do that. And that can be challenging. But when I read this question of yours, I'm like, I've got to know. So how do you slow things down?
Yeah, I think that you have to be super intentional about your breaking points. So like, I'm a water sign, so I'm ever changing, right? I'm able to evolve with the times, and I'm able to go with the flow. But if I didn't create those structures or breaking points, whether it's in the course of the day, course of the week, even in the morning, I have this exercise where I do my brain dumps, which sounds awful, but do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes. Okay. Well, I call this too. I'll do the same thing. I'll just like get everything out of my brain onto piece of paper. Same thing. Okay. I love it. Yes.
Yes. So, because people always, talk about overwhelm. Like, how do you get overwhelmed? And not to mention like place like New York City, but it doesn't even have to be New York, anywhere in life. Like, the reason people get overwhelmed is because all these things are like swimming in our heads, right? So you have to get them out of your head and onto paper. And then from there, you could, what I like to call, reassort. And it's kind of like retailer terms, but reassort and marinate, and being able to like put them in different buckets. And sometimes I like to park certain ideas. Sometimes I like to just run with it. I think what's great about owning your own business, and you're able to be nimble and be able to adjust with the times really quickly. But you have to give yourself that space to do that. Or else like every day is rolling on to the next, and you feel like a hamster. And then it's like a cyclical, cycle that you can't stop. And then it gets to be really overwhelming and stressful. And that's obviously the part of life, is obviously dealing with those ebb and flow of things that come at you and to you. But being able to have those like rituals and practices of, whether that's physical rest to being able to like, even if you're feeling fine, you still need to have that, just like kids need, quiet time, like you need a quiet time. I'm going to assign you a quiet time. And like, we all need that quiet time to be able to like, literally like rest our minds and being able to like think. And I think that's when you get really clear about certain things. If you're marinating about a certain idea, like you really have to get into this white space. And I'm a big fan of like creating white space. And I think that's why I love JOMO in that sense, because those times are so sacred to me, because I love to connect. I'm what they call like, I don't even know if there's a word for it, Crystal, and maybe you might know, but it's like that whole extrovert introvert. Like I love, connecting with people in one sense. Like that's one of the reasons why I'm still in the stores and I'm able to like work in the stores. I still love connecting with people. It's really what fuels me. But I also need that alone time, or else like I to recharge. And so for me, like whether that's a massage or that quiet time in the morning to do my brain dumps and like, being able to like reassess like what's happening on a daily basis. If I don't do that, then I think I end up getting in a bad cycle.
Yep. Oh, beautiful advice, Grace. And I think that bad cycle is hard. It can be hard to break. And especially like the longer that you go and go, it just piles on. So being intentional, like you said, every single day and having that space, I think that's something I've realized in the past year of just how meaningful the space is, because you quiet your mind and you think you just have better answers. I just feel like because you can really think about things like and analyze and just do the brain dump, get it all on the paper, see it all, shuffle things around. And then it just is like, oh, okay, this is what I need to tackle. That can go over here. This is worthless for me to even be worrying about right now. I'm just deleting it. It's done. It's gone. And doing that every single day is beautiful. I love that advice. It's so good.
Yeah. How have you been able to do that?
Well, it's so funny that you say like in the morning, because for me, my mornings are sacred. Like I get up at 6 a.m. every morning and I have my ritual. Like you said, I get my coffee, I kind of do some motions, I sit down, I get my journal. And for me, it's just a blank page is what I need. Just whatever's coming up for me. Is it a recap of yesterday? Is it what I want to bring in today? Is it a problem I'm having? Do I need to brainstorm something? Like whatever that is, that's very timely to the day. And then that always leads to like the next thing that I need to solve or do. And then I'll usually play with my puppies and then do a workout. Yes. I have 2 French bulldogs, so I've got to have my doggy time.
Oh, good. Yeah. We love our furry friends. Yes.
I know. Right. I know. They're the
Even
best.
Though they're a pain sometimes.
They're totally a pain sometimes. But they also bring so much joy. And honestly, I have intentional breaks throughout the day just to be like, walk away from the computer, no phone, be with the dogs, just, hang out for a second. So
yeah, absolutely. It's funny because when I started, I go back to my year 1 and I go back to, they always say you never forget your first, right? So that's why East Village will always be at the heart and the core of like everything that I do. And every time that I open a store to this day, I still treat it as if it's my first store. I still get that same sense of nervousness and also that sense of excitement because I'm doing something new, even though it's the same thing. Even if people think, oh, you have this in the back of your hand, but I still get excited. And every time I open a new store, but I think about that year 1, and usually with every store, when I'm opening a new store, especially that first one. I was working in the store every day except Tuesday. And so initially I was closed on Mondays, but then I found out very soon after opening that a lot of people who work in the restaurant business, whether you're a host or you're a waitress, or people who work in that area, they have Mondays off. So I decided to open on Mondays and had my day off be Tuesday. So to this day, I actually have this ritual, which is called my Happy Tuesday, which is very much that it was always my day off. And not that I didn't love being in the stores. I obviously loved being in my stores, but my Happy Tuesday was actually my day that I was going to use to inspire myself. So whether that meant that was a day that I was going to meet up a girlfriend for coffee, or I was going to venture into a new neighborhood. I'm going to discover Brooklyn. I'm going to discover this. And that's really what kept me inspired. And so it became this whole ritual was like, Happy Tuesday. It's my happy day. And I'm kind of happy that we're talking on a Tuesday because you are part of my Happy Tuesday.
Yay, I love that.
But it's always been that day where it's a day where I'm going to do something. And sometimes obviously work has to come into play, and that's totally fine. But I always pick one or two things that's going to inspire me that day. And it's always been that Happy Tuesday. So I think everyone should have their version of the Happy Tuesday, whether that's on a Tuesday or a Sunday or whatnot. And it's really important.
Oh, I love that so much. Picking a day and then dedicating that day. And to your point too, something I just learned about is there's a thing on TikTok going around about going for walk. They call them random walks, weird walks. And you're trying to find something random or weird on your walk. And then until you do, you keep walking. Yeah. Oh. And so it actually really like helps your brain, and it stimulates from like it builds creativity by doing that. Oh.
So random in a sense of what? Like you see a turtle or something, or
yeah. So one video was like this girl was like doing a walk and she saw a sticker of a chihuahua that had a smile, like a fake smile. And she's like, that's the weird thing. I can go home now. So I bet like New York City, you don't have to go too far. You could turn and find.
You'll see it. You'll find Augie. You'll be home in 2 seconds.
Yes. So, maybe don't do that in New York, but somewhere else, like but it gets you like exploring, and that gets you out of like, it's just a different state. And then it can really build upon your creativity. So I love that you mentioned that of your happy days, going for a walk or meeting up with friends. I feel like we could talk. I seriously have like so many other questions on here that I would love to have you come back, because you have so much information and an experience in being a business owner and a retailer in different locations. And this has been gold. I would love to know just a couple final questions. What is the best business advice you've ever been given?
Well, for me, it's something that my dad taught me, growing up and in my career path. And that's why he's always, even though he's passed away, he still is a part of why I do what I do. And so one of the business advice that he gave me when I started, just in terms of even when I was working for other companies, was that he always said and I think he understood the whole zone of genius. I think he knew that I came into an area of picking one thing and really going all the way. I think a lot of times we come up with all these different interests and ideas, and I think it's okay to have different interests, but being able to execute and being able to go all the way with it, that says something about you and also what you want to accomplish in life. So I think whatever you're tackling, being able to actually go through with it, and whether you succeed or fail doesn't matter. And I remember he said to me at my opening party for the first story, he's like, no matter what happens, you did it. And that's all that matters.
Oh, chills, Grace. That's so beautiful. What a supportive, amazing dad. That really is great advice.
He's amazing.
Pick one thing, run with it. My fiance Dustin has a lot of projects. He's into a lot of different things, and I'm like, you should pick one thing. But here's
the thing. I love this whole idea of a triangle, because so my favorite number is 3, and I feel most balanced with 3. It's probably one of the reasons why I always wanted to have multiple stores. And when I was a buyer of Bloomingdale's, they gave me one department. I said, give me another department. I can't just do one. So I was crazy. It. Yeah. But I think that when you can find what you're passionate about, and then couple that with what you're really gifted to do, that whole zone of genius that we talked about. And then you have faith in the process. It has to marry, all 3 of those things have to marry together. And then you're able to be successful at it. So I'm passionate about food. I mean, you can't see, I'm not going to open a restaurant because it's not my zone of genius. I'll be happy to eat your food, but
right. Same. I'm the same way.
Exactly. So it's taking your passion, but also really diving deep down and thinking about what am I really gifted to do? Because I truly believe that every person has that unique gift, and getting clear at it, getting even better at it. We often focus on our weaknesses, but also really focusing on our strength and even making it better. How do you up-level your own self, and being able to get clear in terms of what you're really good at. And then you're able to marry those two and then And then you have to be patient and you have to like have faith in that process.
Yep. And that is such a key part of it, because I think that we find those two things, we marry them, and then we want it overnight. And
I know.
Yep. Right. And especially today with like the instant gratification world that we live in. So you have to have the patience, but man, it's so worth it. Like a very small example for me, I've been doing this show for a couple of years. I love doing the show. I've had a few breaks and I've had a few like, what am I doing with the show? You know, just trying to figure out where do I want to go? And I love doing it so much, but I'm like this calling of just like, keep going, keep going, keep going, just be patient. And then last week, it was just, there was so many great things that happened for the show. Your email is one of them. Aww. And you get that momentum, like you get some wins, you get the wins that create the momentum and that also give you more clarity on where it is you want to go. You get a little bit clearer because you're a little bit more closer of where you're going. And so it just like, it brings more motivation and excitement when you have that motivation when you have that momentum, but you have to have the patience first. So I am so glad that you said that. Like it's key. It is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think that you're doing a great job. I mean, I've seen, obviously, you know, when I got connected to your podcast, I'm like, oh my goodness, she's really, I mean, I think you're super talented and gifted in what you're doing here, and know that like you're in the right path for it. And, you know, I'm grateful for this conversation and so happy that we connected. And of course, you know, we'll continue on this conversation always. And, yeah, it's just exciting to meet other women, but also like people who are just like, you know, doing their thing, you know, and so that's inspiring to me. And, you know, I can see this, you know, your vision for this podcast, you know, getting bigger and better and just being able to reach more people. And I love the fact that you have this love for retail as well and supporting so many retailers. And, you know, it's nice to have a voice like yours in this industry.
Oh, Grace, thank you. That means the world to me. All of that means the world to me. And I feel so inspired by you and grateful that we have been connected, because I feel the exact same way, just to see other women who are living their dreams, creating an impact on the world and leaving our mark, and especially in these different communities, and being intentional with what you're creating and who you're serving and how you're showing up is very inspiring. And I just so appreciate your time and some of your wisdom that you shared today on the show. You know, we'll link to everything. I know that you do sell online. If people are in these local areas, you've got to go into Pink Olive and take pictures and tag me because I want to see it. You can go to pinkolive.com as well. And Grace, is there anything else you want to, well, there's probably a million things you want to leave our listeners with, but I'll give you the final words here.
Oh my goodness. Well, toast. I mean, toast to this new year. I'm just, you know, super excited about connections and, you know, just being able to be vulnerable and just get out there and connect with people. I think that's really where the magic happens. And, you know, I think that's how I want to start this year. And I was so happy to have connected with you. And it's you know, it's going to be a good year, knock on wood.
I completely agree. And, you know, I want to just say one point to that, because there is a lot of like fear around what's coming into the world, right? Are we the economic standpoint of our country and the world? And we could spend a lot of time talking about that.
I know, that could be another conversation.
I think it could be, because you have some experience with this. But I saw something on Instagram that was like, I choose to be optimistic. You know, it's really like, that's really where I am. Of course, I'm aware you're listening, you're reading, you're researching. What do I need to know? But I'm also choosing to be optimistic of what my business is going to do this year and what I'm going to do and the experiences I'm going to have in my life. And there's certain things that are out of our control, but there are certain things that are in our control. And so to that point of like 2023 being a great year, I agree. I think it's going to be a great year. And I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you can embrace those challenges and being able to forge ahead and, you know, be very focused with that, I think, you know, that's, as you said, like there are certain things that you can control and there are certain things you cannot, and you can do only what you can control. And then you could just, you know, go with it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Yeah.
Grace, this was so great. Thank you so much for your time and sharing with my audience.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, so much fun. And everyone, check out Grace online and follow her on social. She's got such great content there. You really are killing it with your social. And everyone else, I will see you on the next See You. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Grace.
Bye.
Hey, real quick, if you are a retail store owner, I would love to see you at Evolve. This is my in-person marketing conference happening April 26th and 27th, 2023 in Denver, Colorado at the Gaylord Rockies, which is a stunning venue. You get to spend 2 days with me and my team and keynote speakers, as well as other retailers looking to evolve their marketing, business, and lives. It's an intimate event. We only have 200 tickets available, and we've already sold a lot of those seats already. So this event will sell out. Do not delay because we have special pricing depending on when you hear this and when you sign up. And I would love to see you in that room. So go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve. That's crystalmediaco.com/evolve to get your ticket. And I would love to see you there. And thank you for listening to this episode. Bye.